Everybody, Dr. Earl here. I'm in the middle of this here parking lot, as you can see. I just want to make a little video expressing something that I've heard other programs, other articles have ever talked about, you know. And also it's apparently a subject of a movie, I guess it's a documentary called Band or Brand, from what I understand. I want to thank Wendell Neely and Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show for inspiring me to make this video. Because, you know, this has happened a few times before. It's about bands with only one original member, legendary bands. And there was a few examples out there. There's Foreigner with only Mick Jones as their only original guitarist, with a bunch of new guys in it. There was, for a while, Bobby Blotzer's Rat. Their well-known drummer had the name for a couple of years with all new members. A lot of people didn't really care for that. In fact, they were subtitled it Fake Rat for a while. And of course, right now, there's Foghat, with their only original member left, drummer Roger Earl. And of course, the band Boston, with their only original member, the guy who started the group, the main founder, Tom Schultz, the guitarist, engineer, producer, main songwriter. So this is not a new thing. It's happened a few times before, you know. Oh, I gotta mention this. You may remember a group called the Little River Band, a legendary group out of Australia. They had a lot of success in the early 80s, but however, the name is now owned by their former bass player, who by the way is an American. He has the name Little River Band. He's touring with a whole new lineup, and they're calling it this and that particular name. And the original members of the group are like, this is bullshit. This is not the Little River Band. And what even makes it more oddballish is that he's not the original member. He came in after their original bass player departed. And from what I understand, a few years back, a guy named Jolie Holland is now touring. I guess, I don't know if he still tours, but he has done shows as Jolie Holland's Badfinger. Now, you may not know who they are. They were like deemed the second Beatles to their original members. Pete Ham and Tom Evans committed suicide a few years apart over management issues. And one of the members, you know, who came in later on during the group's career, he now, of course, as I mentioned, has the band name, and like I said, it's called Jolie Holland's Badfinger. And there was something else that I remember seeing back in 1993. It was Andy Scott's Suite. Andy Scott, the guitarist for the legendary Sweet, he has the band name. He's got a whole new lineup. You know, all the other original members are gone. One of them passed away from some sort of illness. You know. So as I saw that played at the Ritz a few years back, the original Ritz nightclub in Roseville, Michigan. And I was fucking disappointed because I was expecting the Suite that I saw a couple years before. Andy Scott, drummer Mick Tucker, you know, they had a different new singer, a new bass player. It was awesome, a great ass fucking show. The Andy Scott Suite I saw in '93 couldn't even come close to that, man. What the fuck? And also, let's not forget, one big atrocity around 1986, Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi. Apparently the story was that Iommi was doing a solo record, and his record label told him, hey, call it a Black Sabbath album. You'll sell more records. You know, didn't work. Everybody, including Ozzy, Ronnie James Dio, Geezer Butler, cried foul on that one. And what's worse, that album that came out, Seventh Star, which by the way is a damn fucking good record, it only peaked up to 107 on the Billboard charts, while Ozzy's Ultimate Sin was in the top 10. And there were a lot of bad reviews on the tour that followed. The singer at that time, Glenn Hughes, who used to be with Deep Purple, he forgot a few lyrics of a couple of their old songs, and everybody just booed the shit out of him for that. Come on, man. I think one of the main reason why members do that is because simply you sell. I think we all know the reason. Let me rephrase that. The main reason these guys do this is quite simple. You make more money with the brand name than as a solo artist. It works all the time. Who cares if it's only one original member or two? You get more money, you draw more people, and you drop more of better promotion using the band name. It's happened many times before. For example, back in 1987, when David Gilmour and Nick Mason were back together, they could have, you called it, their project, Gilmour, Mason, and Friends, but they decided to call it Pink Floyd. And that was back in 87 when the Momentary Lapse of Reason album came out. I had the original cassette, and it was just those two with a bunch of guest artists. Richard Wright, God rest his soul, wasn't officially back with the band yet, but he played with them on tour. And he was conceived as back into the group in all the press and photos and shit. You know, it's kind of sad to see bands that we know and love, that we recognize, go through all this bullshit, you know, and having to carry on some what they call a legacy, when it's not really about carrying on a legacy. It's about making money. I mean, there are a few people out there saying, whenever it comes to the point they should just quit, they should just stop, I may have to agree on some of those issues there. Now, I have yet to hear how Boston and Foghat sound nowadays, but from my experience watching Andy Scott's Suite, I can only say this. It's sad that management and record labels have to convince with that one particular member to carry on the name in order to make money. But then again, that's their motive: to sell records, to make money, to draw in people for their shows. Everybody gets paid. That's their motive. Oh, by the way, here's something else I heard about on the Classic Metal Show. They did this. Here's how this is a low thing. Some promoter at a club billed Santana at their club on a particular night. But it wasn't Carlos Santana. It was his brother George Santana. Jorge. The place was packed, but it wasn't the Santana we know and love. It was his brother George. So you can imagine how many people were pissed off and walked out. Well, they walked out all right, but still, the promoters and George Santana and who was ever in his band got their money's worth. You know. And oh yeah, we cannot forget Axl Rose having the name Guns N' Roses to himself for all those years up until the Relapse, Not in His Lifetime tour started. And I call it a relapse because it's not the original members. Well, it's basically the three main members, him, Duff, and Slash. But of course, no Steven, no Izzy. So it is what it is. Sad, but that's how it goes, dude. I'm about to head home. I'm Dr. Earl. Excuse me. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Keep the rock solid.